Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is, again, it's going to be one of those things where it's a little bit different. I feel like that's the problem, one of the main problems with the world. We're not sharing our personal stories, our testimonies, our personal experiences, and I just feel like when you do share and you're open about those things, like, you just don't know whose life you're gonna touch. You know, the last video I put up, my chit chat, get ready with me, I got really good feedback on it, and I know I mentioned that eventually I was gonna film a video featuring, basically I'm gonna be sharing with you all my lupus story. And if you all have been following me on social media, you know that earlier last week now, because today's Sunday, was my 1-year mark since I got diagnosed last year in September. It was September 13th that I was diagnosed officially, and so I just, you know, have made a couple of posts on social media, like my Instagram, Facebook. I did a little bit on Snapchat, and I didn't want like a sad, depressing like way to remember. Celebrating on Friday with my mom, we went to Disney. That's the first time I've been back to the parks since I got sick last year. So that was very sentimental. It meant a lot to me, and we had a lot of fun. This video, I'm gonna try not to make it long. There's probably gonna be times I'm gonna have to pause because I know I'm gonna get emotional talking about this, especially starting from the beginning up until today, where I am now. I hope that I'll touch someone's life and inspire someone else to come out and share their story, whether you have cancer, whether you also have lupus, whether you're just fighting with depression, or you're, you know, going through something personal. Like, I encourage you, whoever's watching, to be open and share your story. You guys, back to summer of 2016, where all my troubles kind of started triggering. But then, to be honest, since going through this journey, I feel like maybe I've had lupus longer than we've known I've had it. It's just not been showing up. It's like lupus is very hard to pinpoint because it's very tricky, it's very sneaky, it's very discreet. And there's different forms, different types of it, and I will eventually share the types that I have. And then the other things, other health problems I also have gotten, because unfortunately when you have lupus or an autoimmune disease, it can bring on other diseases, other illnesses, other things wrong with your body, unfortunately. Basically, my troubles started, I've been anemic, iron deficiency anemia. I've had that for about over 2 years now, and you know, we didn't think anything else of it. As we read and researched more into lupus, we found out that an early sign or stage of possibly developing lupus can stem from being anemic, having iron deficiency anemia. But then, because lupus is so tricky, there's multiple reasons. There's no true cause to lupus. It can come up on you, like, you know, and also you have to go through so many tests to really pinpoint if you have it in the first place. Environmental factors, like I said, being anemic, sometimes certain medications can trigger it. If you're on a birth control, ladies, sometimes that can cause it. Hair loss, and one of the main biggest things that causes lupus is stress. Then summer 2016 came for me, and I noticed, like, the whole first half of the year, my periods were getting very irregular. Sometimes I was having them every 2 weeks. Sometimes I was missing them. Like, this is not normal. You know, we need to get to the doctor. I need to figure out what can I do, this, that, and the other. So my doctor recommended me to start a birth control. I started the birth control, and my assumption was I was having an allergic reaction to it because I noticed my lower half of my body was swelling. It was getting very painful. It was like my knees, my joints were very red, very swollen. It was very hard to walk. Apparently it was allergic reaction, so we had thought. At the same time, what was also going on in my life was, I don't know where I was in my life mentally at the time. I don't know, I don't know why I felt at that point that I needed to start taking on a lot of responsibilities and stuff. I was working my call center job, and I don't know, I had this crazy idea to switch over to the overnight shift. So I was working 11 at night to 7 in the morning, like Monday through Saturday. I've never done anything like that before, while I'm also in college full time. So I was like sleeping all day long when I wasn't working, and I didn't have classes in the afternoon, plus online school. By this time, it's like August. I started my overnight shift like in the summer, like around June, July-ish. So August rolls, we're getting like at the end of August at this point. Then we get into September, like the first week-ish of September. I noticed each morning I should say, because I would get off at 7 a.m. from work. By the time I was getting ready to get off work, I was noticing I was having the hardest time walking. I was really struggling. I was exhausted. I was very, very tired, very sleepy. My joints would be so swollen, like my knees, my ankles. And then I think back to December 2015. I had that same experience around Christmas, because that was the year that I surprised my family with tickets to Disney, and we stayed at a resort that weekend. And we went to Disney for the Christmas party event. That was our first time going. We were there like all night. We closed out the park with it. And by the time we were leaving, my knees had gotten swollen in the park. And I kept telling my family, like, something's not right. Like, my knees, and this never happens to my knees. Like, I was having a hard time walking. And everybody was like, oh, you know, maybe we just overdid it. Like, we really didn't take into consideration this really isn't normal. So eventually, the week of September 13th, I started having these vomiting spells out of the blue like crazy. I couldn't keep anything down. Trying to go out and hang out like a normal day with my mom and my grandma. I was struggling to get dressed, get in the shower, get ready. By the time I couldn't even leave the house without having to go puke at least twice. I was like, okay, we got to get to the doctor, because this is not normal at all. Like, I don't even think it's a virus, because I really have to thank one of the overnight supervisors I had at the time. Like, his name is Chris Dolland. I probably didn't say the last name right, but he literally saved my life at work, because that particular night he saw me like really struggling. I looked really sick at work. I could barely get up from my seat. I had to hold on to everything at work. People were looking at me at like 3, 4 in the morning at this point, because it was overnight shift, looking at me like I'm crazy, trying to figure out what's wrong with me, why I'm walking, why I'm barely able to walk. Like, you know, people were looking at me all types of ways. He's the only person that actually reached out and said, you do not look good. I hope you get to the doctor. I hope you feel better, and I hope that everything's going to be okay. So I get to the doctor September 13th. I went with my mom. You know, based on, you know, we had all the tests done. So this day was going to tell us, do I have lupus or do I have arthritis? Because based on my symptoms, we were like, well, my grandmother has arthritis, rheumatoid arthritis. It does run in the family. But nobody in my family on my mother or my father's side has lupus. We're like, let's just get the results. And then she looks at the numbers, goes over everything. She was like, you know, I really thought based on your numbers and the markers, this was going to tell us that you just have arthritis. But in your case, unfortunately, it's a bit worse. And she looks at me and she's like, you don't have arthritis, but unfortunately, I'm telling you that you have lupus. And she tells me there are different types of it. And she's like, but however, based on your numbers, you have the top form of it, the not so good one at all, which is SLE. And I'm probably going to butcher it, because I still to this day don't know how to really pronounce it, but SLE is just systemic lupus erythematosus. the main thing dealing with this is you can't let the disease control you. You have to be in control of your disease. And I'm still learning that a lot. I'm still learning a lot of things. I'm still learning to fully, completely accept that this is what I have, this is my life, and this is what I'm going to deal with for the rest of my life. You know, when I get old, this is what I'm going to die with, you know, things like that. Because, you know, who wants to be told at like 20 years old, or I've even read stories on social media of people that, you know, girls that were told they have lupus at like 9 years old or 11, or they're 15 going through high school. It's very, very hard to be told that you have a disease or a chronic illness at such a young age. You know, when you think everything is fine, you're just trying to live a regular and average life, you know, and then you get crashed and thrown with this in your lap, and it's like, how am I supposed to function? I promise you guys, you know, like, I'll be more appreciative and even more grateful than I am today when I can look back and say, I've been battling and fighting it for 5 years, or I've been battling and fighting this for 10 years or 20 years down the road. Instantly, after we were told all this, we were told then that, you know, regular doctors can't treat lupus. You have to start going to rheumatologists. Unfortunately, there's not many rheumatologists in the state of Florida because not too many people deal with like autoimmune diseases here. Doctor's office, and I wasn't feeling the greatest. It's almost like it went through my head, but I didn't process it right away. My mom, on the other hand, she reacted probably the way I should have reacted initially, but I was still in a total shock. So it was a quiet ride home from the doctor, and it's like a million thoughts instantly were going through my mind. How am I going to do this? Am I going to live? Am I going to survive? Am I going to make it? How am I going to manage school? How am I going to manage my job? Like, how am I going to be able to function? How am I going to be able to still be social, still be somewhat outgoing? Am I going to start cutting people out, being more sheltered, being more to myself? You know, how is this going to affect me mentally, physically, spiritually? And then I kept thinking, like, oh my God, what's my boyfriend thing at the time, who is now my fiance? We were still together, still doing our long distance. He had no idea what my outcome was going to be. I was like, I kept thinking, oh my God, he's going to break up with me. He's going to leave me. He's not going to want to be with me because I have an illness. And I was instantly thinking, like, oh my gosh, like, this is it for me. Like, you know, who's going to want to love me and marry me and want to make me their wife when I have this illness going on with me that I'm stuck with for the rest of my life? Just got in a very negative state of mind. I kept thinking, like, I'm being punished for something. I kept thinking, like, this is the end of the road for me. Like, you know, like, I kept thinking, oh my God, I'm gonna die young. Like my time is coming. And I don't even know what I did wrong. And I don't know why this is happening to me. And I don't know why, like, this had to be my life. You know, why couldn't it be someone else's life? Why did this have to happen to me? And I kept thinking, like, oh my God, like, why me, God? Like, what did I do so wrong? I'm just trying to, like, live my life, and, you know, I'm so young, like, I'm too young to deal with this. I'm not strong enough, like, you know, like, I don't know how I'm gonna be able to get through this. That's basically how it went. And I can't tell you guys, like, how thankful I am for my family. Because as soon as I got home, like, instantly, we all just, like, sat there and just prayed over me. And everybody was so encouraging. Like, my whole family is still encouraging. By my whole family, I mean everybody that lives with me in my house. My mom, my dad, my grandma. Like, been encouraging me and pushing me every step of the way. And I can't tell you, like, I probably would not get through this without them and without my faith in God. You know, even though, like, it's been a year at this point, and, like, my fiance knows I have it. Like, sometimes I feel like he is somewhat in a form of denial, or he doesn't realize exactly how sick I really am. Like, I feel like a lot of times he thinks I can still, like, keep up with him and function regularly like him because there's nothing wrong with him. He's healthy, average, normal, whereas I'm not. And, you know, I'm thankful because there's people with lupus, like, they look sick appearance wise. They look sick all the time. And I'm thankful because, like, in my case, like, I really don't look sick. Face is fuller, chunky, chipmunk, hashtag Theodore at this time, but that's because, like I mentioned in my chit chat video that I uploaded, that I'm on a lot of medication and I'm on a high dose of steroids. So that's why my face is all swollen, puffed out like this, and I've gained 20 pounds now, and I'm very like unhappy with my body and struggling with that because it comes with a lot of changes and adjustments to me physically, mentally. I have to know my limits now. Like, even though we went to Disney and I had so much fun going, it was my first time going back. It, like, you know, like, I wanted to stay and watch the fireworks, and I couldn't even do that because my body's like, you're tired. You know, it's been a long day. You walked like 10 miles in this park. You know, like, you don't have any more energy left to sit and watch fireworks for like 15-20 minutes. You know, and then you have to turn around and get up and go to work at like 9 o'clock in the morning. So, like, my mom was like, you know, if you want to stay, we can stay, but, you know, I know your body's tired. You've been walking a lot. So, you know, I feel like such a big kid because I really wanted to stay and watch, but it really sucks because, like, I couldn't stay and watch. You definitely have to know your limits with lupus. Like, you have to know, like, you have to keep that turned on. Like, okay, Lexus, you've done a lot right now. You have to go take a nap. You have to go rest. You have to sit down. All those things occur. Especially with the type that I have. Like, the main thing is that's still hard for me is I have to keep my stress down as much as possible because stress triggers what I experience as flare-ups. Stress triggers my symptoms. It triggers activity with my lupus. It's a main contributor, and it really sucks because I'm as you can tell, I'm pretty hard on myself with a lot of things, and I overthink a lot of things. I have a lot of anxiety. I have like confidence issues. Eventually, you know, we were able to find my rheumatologist, but unfortunately we couldn't find one in Orlando because they all were booked out for the rest of the year. So I was not going to be able to get to a rheumatologist right in Orlando till like Thanksgiving. And we were like, we don't have time for that. It's already September. We don't know anything about this disease. Unfortunate part was basically we had to drive all the way to Tampa every time I had a rheumatologist appointment. So Mom had to take off work. We'd have to drive an hour and a half to 2 hours, depending on Tampa traffic, Florida traffic, going and coming back. So we get into the rheumatologist. We learn more about the disease. We're more informed. And then we learn about the different treatments. And then we learn, you know, then we start, basically, then you're a guinea pig. Because everybody that has lupus has different symptoms, has a different type of it, and their bodies are going to react differently to the medication. So, and then of course, with every time we start a medication, it takes a full 6 to 8 weeks before your body fully adjusts. Now your body does, getting your labs done. I have labs done like all the time. Every time I go back for follow-up, I have to have labs done, blood work done. It's just annoying, but it's a process. It's what you have to do. We're moving on. September 15th comes. My mom went back to work, so I'm at home. I'm still out of work. I couldn't even be in school. And so my grandma's trying to help take care of me at home, and then my dad works from home. So eventually, so I know when I'm not feeling well, like I'm either in the bed all day, my bed's upstairs, so this entire week I've been downstairs on the couch. I had no energy to move, no energy to get up the stairs. So my grandma have made a big breakfast, trying to help me get some food that'll stay down in my system because everything else just kept coming up like crazy. 30-ish, 12 maybe. And I finished my breakfast. I just left my stuff on the little TV tray, put it to the side, and our soap opera was on. Maybe it's gonna subside. I don't know. I just started experiencing this slight chest pain. I didn't know how to explain it because I've never experienced it before. And I was like, okay, maybe I just had some gas in my system because I was drinking a lot of ginger ale and stuff, and I'm like, maybe it's just gas, maybe it's the ginger ale. By the time I got done eating and I'm watching the rest of the soap opera, my chest gets tighter and tighter. I noticed my breath was getting very short, was really starting to freak out. I'm like, this does not feel normal. So I started asking my granny, I was like, you know, what's it feel like if you're gonna have a heart attack? Because I'm like, well, can I have a heart attack at 20 years old? Let's try to just sit you up on the couch. This is probably the first time I was able to sit up on the couch. My dad was stuck on a call. I kept trying to call for him. I'm like, this does not feel good at all. So thank God my dad had his cell phone right there on his work desk. I just immediately texted him 911, help. So my dad's running in there. He's like, what's going on? What's the matter? You know, did you throw up again? And I'm like, my chest hurts and I'm struggling to breathe on my own. By this point, I was not able to breathe on my own. I'm like really like trying to like find air, trying to get oxygen because it was not working. My chest was getting so tight. It was very, very scary. By this time, my whole body started turning red. My face is turning red. My hands are turning red. I'm like really, really getting hot. I'm like drenching in sweat. I'm like, this is not right at all. My dad's like, okay, like raise your hands up above your head. Can you breathe? Is it tight? And I'm like, no. I'm like, no. Like by this time I wasn't even able to talk. Like I could not breathe at all. It was like really building up in there. And I'm like, Dad, like, I need you to call 911. Like my granny's like, okay, let's call. I've never had to like call 911. I've never had to be rushed in the ambulance. I've never had to be in the hospital other than birth. Like people are in my house. They got all these machines. They're hooking up everything to me while I'm on the couch. They're like taking photos of like my heart. They're like running this little graph thing. Like everything's going on and I'm on there. They're like flooring it to the hospital. And I didn't even have time to I didn't have time to grab a bra. I'm just like in my pajamas. My headscarf is on. I didn't have time to grab my phone. I'm like, Dad, just get my phone. Can y'all just get my phone, get my wallet? You know, like, I didn't get to grab anything. And I'm like, I kept telling them, call Marquise. Tell him I'm being rushed to the hospital. Like, somebody call him, somebody text him, and let him know. Like, and the paramedics, like, they kept asking me about my pain level. They started giving me meds that was knocking me out, trying to stop a fever, and all this crazy stuff. And then they had me hooked up on IV. They had me hooked up on heart monitor, so it kept checking it like every few minutes or so often. And I just kept telling him, like, he was like, you know, does heart problems run in your family? I'm like, yes. And I kept telling him, like, my mom has pericarditis, and I was like, I just got diagnosed with lupus 2 days ago. And I just kept telling him, like, please just let me be okay, like, please don't let me die, like, I'm too young. And then eventually I woke up. I was in the hospital bed, in the hospital room, and my mom was there in tears. My sister and her boyfriend was there, my granny and my dad. And I was in and out of it a lot because eventually the medications just started coming. And then I was in and out having tests done, CT scans, PET scans. Like, I had every test in the book done. Put me on oxygen. So it was very scary. And after all those tests done, they even did ultrasounds on all my organs. Because that's another thing. Because I have SLE, like, it can trigger and destroy and damage a lot of your major functions and a lot of your major organs. My form of lupus can affect my brain, it can affect my heart, it can affect my lungs, it can affect my kidneys, because basically my body is forming antibodies in my system and they're just attacking my immune system for no reason. It's going to cause World War III in your body for no reason. It sucks to not know why you're being attacked on the inside of your body. It sucks to know that your immune system is being destroyed. I don't wish this or any illness on anyone. You know, I really don't. So basically we found out that I had gotten a huge amount of inflammation activity built in my system. It caused a buildup of fluid in my lungs, and that's why I was not able to breathe, and that's why I was on the oxygen. That's another thing that I deal with. I deal with inflammation with my lupus. So for me, my inflammation, it goes and attacks my lungs. So sometimes there have been periods throughout this whole year of dealing with this that I get a horrible grandpa dry cough. Sometimes when the inflammation gets so bad, it gets to my heart. And I have pleurisy, So when I get inflammation around my heart, it is very excruciating pain. It is so tight. Like, it literally just feels like I'm constantly being stabbed with a whole, like, sword, or just something is just going through my heart constantly, not stopping. And when I get those periods of inflammation to my lungs, to my heart, sometimes I get them at the same time, sometimes it's one or the other. I literally am in bed, or I have to lay down, I have to stay put. Obviously, I've dealt with it a year now, so, like, I have better management with it. And like I said, I also have the support of, like, my mom, my parents, you know, everyone that lives here with me. And then my fiance is here, so he helps me a lot, or he tries to. But then sometimes I don't like him to help, because then I feel like I can't be independent, because, like, everybody kind of likes to do a lot of things for me. And I'm like, I can do it, I can do it, I can do it. Like, I don't need your help. You know, let me be independent. But then sometimes I'm like, you know, Lexus, you do need some help. Just so I was having periods where my lab work looked like my lupus was getting better. Then I had periods where my lab work was showing my lupus is getting worse. It's highly active, high amounts of inflammation. My levels and markers for anemia, like, to be not considered anemic on the number marker range, you're supposed to be at least 11 or higher. My anemia for over 2 years at that point, from last year, was only at a 2. Thankfully, I also, at the time, my mom found out about this all-natural doctor who doesn't use any form of medication to treat illnesses. We made appointments to start going to see her. And then also, with my type of lupus, I also have developed arthritis. So I have arthritis. It's mainly in the lower half of my body, because as I've been sharing my experiences, like, I mainly get the arthritis in my knees, like around my kneecaps or across the bones of my leg, and then also the ankles, body work and stuff. So I've gone and I do sessions with her. I also keep in touch with her through the phone, so I keep her up to date. She believes in using, like, herbs, teas, and things like that, and also altering your diet. So my diet has altered a lot. A lot of favorite foods and things that I absolutely loved eating, I cannot eat them now because a lot of times they trigger my inflammation. That's another thing. Like, if you guys know me, you guys know I have a sweet tooth and beyond. Like, I absolutely love my sugar. I can't get enough of it. But too much sugar triggers my inflammation in my body. Well, because all this was going on, we were keeping up with my professors as much as we possibly could, because I was on a lot of medication at this point. I was on like 8 or 9 different medications at this point. So unfortunately what happened to me, I missed like 3.5 weeks of school. And by this time the semester was coming to an end. Because I still hate that it happened when it happened to me. But of course there's no specific time when things are going to happen to you. It's just part of life, and it's going to happen whether you want it to happen now or down the road. Because I had everything going for me school-wise. Like, if you know me personally, you know that I've done well in school since, like, elementary school. I've been an honor roll student since, like, 3rd grade. So, like, since I had started college at this point, I had been on the dean's honor list. And that meant so much to me because it goes on my permanent record and this, that, and the other. Like, I work my butt off for school. Like, that's very important to me, and it's always been important. So, it really sucked that I missed 3.5 weeks towards the end of the semester, and it caused my grades to drop. Like, so at this point, it was either to withdraw, I was gonna have to start all over again with these classes, and I did need them part of my degree. I'm just like, you know, it was very unfortunate. So the only thing I had left to rely on was to pass all my finals with at least a C. Trying to deal with a chronic illness and still get through school, especially college, because college is so much work. I can say, like, I'm still going, and like each semester now, like I submit letters and documentations. I personally go and introduce myself to my professors during the first week of each semester. You know, keep us informed as much as possible throughout the semester. So I'm very thankful for that, especially since I started at UCF, because like there's some really generous, like very sweet professors I've had thus far. Especially like from my first semester. I started UCF in January. and I graduated from Valencia in December last year. Yeah, I had a really great professor that really touched my heart since I've been at UCF. And if she watches this video, it's my professor. Her name is Professor Dussault, and I took her communication human relations class, and it was just such a good experience. And to this day, I still keep in touch with her, and she's such an awesome professor. She's very touching and very strong, and I just really look up to her. Like, she really believes in making change in the world and stop doing things. Like, I stopped playing my guitars, I stopped playing piano, I stopped drawing, I stopped my art, I stopped reading books. I just gave up a lot of things. I just feel like I just gave up on my life because I keep and I'm slowly trying to get back into doing a lot of these things, like especially like with my art and stuff, because I'm like, that's what I'm supposed to do. Like, you know, God gave me this talent, you know, I'm supposed to use my hands for art, and I'm supposed to use them so I can still pursue my fashion career and this, that, and the other. And with my faith and like my loving and supportive family, like I get through it, and I just keep pushing myself. Like, you have to push through. You have to pray until something happens. You have to keep yourself encouraged. You have to stay motivated. Like, if you guys could see my room, like, I have Post-it notes and positive messages, like I have a whole section on my wall back there of like all my encouraging positive notes. I just try to like read through those every day. And then I also have like one on my vanity mirror that I like try to read every day. I have one in my bathroom on the mirror I try to read every day. Like, I just try to read them every day. I also listen to like encouraging podcasts on my phone. Like, my favorite ones to listen to are from Joyce Meyer. Like, I download hers. They come through every day and just apply them to myself. So I definitely encourage anybody to just find something to keep you encouraged and keep you motivated to keep going and managing and dealing with these things in life. This year's been a struggle year for me because I really haven't been working much since I've just been trying to get in better management of dealing with my illness. I just started going back to work last month at my job. So, but anyways, so we're going to fast forward a bit. I started experiencing some other issues since, you know, dealing with my lupus. So I've basically been spilling protein from my kidneys, which your body's not supposed to do that. Your kidneys are supposed to help keep you flushed out, fluctuated, not spill your protein. So basically what happened is I kept going back to my rheumatologist. We kept seeing the number markers for my protein was starting to get a little bit too high. It was becoming like not normal. Eventually at this point, we're going over everything, and it's like, oh, you know, like, it looks like your lupus is starting to affect your kidneys. You're now going to have to also start going to a kidney doctor because we can't specifically treat your kidneys, you know, just with a rheumatologist alone. At the end of May of this year, I had to go back to the hospital. I had to have a biopsy done on my kidneys, which was not fun at all. I was super scared. They had to like put me under. Never had to go through this. So, you know, we found out I potentially could also develop another type of lupus known as lupus nephritis, which is the type of lupus that specifically just attacks and damages your kidneys. And there's 5 different stages of it, one being, you know, not bad at all, can easily be treated, whereas 5 is the worst of all, and you basically end up being on dialysis or potentially needing a kidney transplant. And I not only now have SLE, but I also have stage 3 lupus nephritis. So I'm right in the middle, and it was not easy for me to hear that at all. I mean, nobody wants to be told this, and I just kept thinking, oh my god, it's one thing after the other. My grandma was with me this time when I found that out, the doctor. And I found out this medication I was going to have to be put on, these treatments I was going to have to be on, and the list of side effects, it just was such a long list. I didn't like what I was reading on it, reading about it, reading the reviews, and I was getting freaked out. I'm like, all these things are happening to these people that are on it, and I'm like, I don't want to take it. I refuse. There's got to be another way to treat my kidneys. Like, I'm not starting this treatment. I was in denial the entire time. Almost out of my iron deficiency anemia level. I'm like almost there at 11, is like improved tremendously since June. One less health issue I have to deal with. And then also, like, my inflammation is completely at a low, manageable stage. So I really have not experienced any inflammation since, like, June. And I'm also thankful for that. You know, I just pray, my prayer is that I'll continue to improve over time with being on this treatment, because I'm going to be on this treatment for, like, the next few years of my life. I'm going to be positive because I know there are other cases of girls out there on the treatment and they do really well. Some of them even reach remission and then something instantly reverts just like that, and they're like completely sick all over again. And that's the thing with lupus, like, you can be really good, have your good days, and then sometimes the smallest things or nothing at all triggers it back just like that. So that's why you have to really take care of yourself, really manage it as much as possible. I feel like things are starting to turn around. I'm hoping and praying that's what's happening, and I just feel like, you know, I can still push through. I can still do the things I want to do and still accomplish in life, even with my illness. And that's what I hope people will take, you know, from my story as well. Like, I don't want to be treated differently just because I have lupus. Like, I still want to be treated like I'm me. That pretty much concludes my story, and if anyone has personal, like, any questions or any comments, please leave them below or just reach out to me on social media. And I love you guys, and thanks for listening to my story. I'm still writing my story, and, you know, if you guys like this video and want me to make videos where I talk about my progress or, you know, things over time, I definitely will do that. Just let me know. And I love you guys, and thank you for listening. And I'll see you guys really soon with some makeup tutorials. Hopefully. I'm working on it.